Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. We've been talking about doing some weird items lately, or oddball items. Not sure you get much odder than one that you have to have a special player for. Let me rewind. For some of us, 2005 was an interesting time to be buying Star Wars DVDs, because depending on where you bought Revenge of the Sith in full screen or widescreen edition, the original 2-disc release, you may have got some bonus items. Maybe you got a little, I don't know, like a t-shirt or something with it, or a little comic book or something with it, maybe a little miniature poster. Different places all trying to draw you in to buy from them. And a lot of times for the completist to buy from all of them. Ooh, that kills me. I never want to be a completist in that respect. Although, looking behind me, I'm a completist in other respects anyway, so who am I to judge? Well, if you bought Revenge of the Sith at Walmart, then you may have picked up a bonus DVD attached to it called The Story of Star Wars. It says at the bottom, bonus DVD. Up there at the top, nothing special, no little gold or anything kind of bar up there at the top. Story of Star Wars has Vader, Luke, Anakin. Right, now bear in mind it's released alongside Revenge of the Sith, so it was produced prior to the film's release and whatnot. And on the back here, it's got that cool, it matches the prequel trilogy films and whatnot there on the side. But you got your back, and it says, the Skywalker family is at the heart of the Star Wars saga. Now hear the inside story of Luke and Anakin Skywalker from the characters who witnessed it all. The famous droid duo C-3PO and R2-D2. This is something hosted by C-3PO and R2-D2, very much like some of the other little documentaries that we've seen as bonus features, or like the making of Star Wars way back in the day that we've also looked at. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 are explored in The Story of Luke Skywalker, which follows the young man escaping from his deadly chores on Tatooine to becoming a hero in the Rebel Alliance. So you have one thing here that runs about half an hour that's basically C-3PO and R2-D2, mainly C-3PO, telling the story of Luke in sort of a summary of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi all sort of run together. And it does take some liberties with the story as to when certain events take place, kind of saying while something was happening as opposed to meanwhile, kind of around the same time this was happening. But it's all kind of crammed in so that someone who wants to catch up on this, like a kid, could catch up on all this before watching Revenge of the Sith and know exactly what's going on. Well, that's just the classic trilogy, though. Well, there's a second part. In The Story of Anakin Skywalker, you'll go behind the mask of the greatest Star Wars villain and discover how Darth Vader started life as a young pod racing champion on Tatooine and later became a headstrong young Jedi seduced by the dark side of the Force. With clips from the Star Wars films, C-3PO and R2-D2 take you on an hour-long journey, because each of them is half an hour long, through the saga and prepare you for the explosive final chapter, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Summary shows. And when you put this in, you have two options. Story of Luke Skywalker, Story of Anakin Skywalker. You can watch either program. You pop it open. I actually like the label on this thing there. 3PO and R2 just says the story of Star Wars there. Nice. Kind of classy looking, like the way that the VCD labels were on that Malaysian release that we looked at from 2000. Nice packaging here. And for many people, it's like, wow, where did this thing come from? Isn't that a nice little bonus feature there to add? And other people were saying, if it's a bonus feature for Revenge of the Sith, why isn't it on the DVD with everything else? Why do I have to buy it from Walmart to get this, you bastards? Turns out it's kind of a bonus feature, but not really. This thing here is not original content. It is the first DVD release of something that previously saw release twice on PVD. Yes, you heard me right. PVD, as in personal video disc. Like, the hell's a personal video disc? A PVD. Oh, it's a personal video disc. It's for naughty stuff. I'm looking at you, Twi'leks. No, a PVD, a personal video disc, was a proprietary disc type. And actually proprietary disc size. If this is a standard DVD, this is a PVD, little bit smaller, say between the size of a GameCube game from the Nintendo GameCube system and a regular DVD. And they played exclusively on Hasbro's Tiger Electronics, right? Tiger Electronics being a subsidiary of Hasbro, VideoNow players, which is what this is. VideoNow players were designed really for kids. The idea is you pop the disc inside, kind of like a Walkman type thing, plug in your headphones or listen through a small speaker, and you can watch little crappy videos on the go, usually running about half an hour. They work very much kind of like a portable CD player type thing would. There's the regular VideoNow. There's these that you can sort of see through and see the inner workings as it runs, called VideoNow Color FX. This colored version you can see through. There is also one that looks kind of like one of the older models of, I believe it was a Game Boy Advance, one of the later models of Game Boy Advance, where it's this little silver thing that opens up like this, and there's actually some interactive gaming that you can play of some really crappy built-in games on some of these discs. Most people had a standard VideoNow player if they had one at all. Usually either Color FX or regular, not the XP version, which is that one that's kind of like the Game Boy Advance in style. Well, in 2004, you had the release of Star Wars content, the only Star Wars content on this system. Right? VideoNow Color is the story of Star Wars. Huh. That is the same name as on this thing. Yeah, the story of Star Wars. 3-disc pack, right? Half an hour for each of these two. Half an hour on a disc for VideoNow. That's 2 discs. Where's that other disc coming from? We shall see in a moment. It says down here at the bottom, basically what it is, it says SW1, Star Wars 1, as if they were going to make more. It says, discs. 1, the story of Luke Skywalker. 2, the story of Anakin Skywalker. 3, behind the scenes of Star Wars. Interesting. A lot of people, when this started to become more well-known that story of Star Wars was actually something from another older system, a lot of people were clamoring for that last disc. It's not really a lot to write home about, and it's probably stuff you've already got on home video already, just it's parceled out on home video instead of combined together here. Nothing all that special. It says 3 personal video discs, PVDs, you can barely see it there in white. Flip it over, gives you a rundown here, anytime, anywhere. Great pick! You're now holding the coolest 3-pack of color personal video discs, PVDs, exclusively designed for use with the VideoNow Color Personal Video Player. Okay, it's the coolest for the system. Understand, this is the system that had stuff like SpongeBob and Nickelodeon shows on it, so it's probably one of the few that actually had something on it that wasn't totally designed as a kid show. So, the original VideoNow, the very early VideoNow players were black and white. Couldn't use one of those. You need one of the VideoNow color players, or Color FX, or XP, to play these discs. It's odd that that system had so many iterations, given the fact that it was really kind of an expensive piece of crap that kids would be using. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of content on it, the programs were pretty short, it ate up batteries like mad. Not exactly something the kids were all clamoring for back in 2004 when this came out. Again, there's 3 discs. You have story of Anakin Skywalker there. We have the story of Luke Skywalker down there at the bottom. Then on the other side, you've got behind the scenes of Star Wars. Ooh, something mysterious there. Now, the contents you're going to get on that Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker disc are the exact same as the little specials you get on here. No different whatsoever. At least not in terms of the content itself. The quality of the content, oh, that's very different. Think about, just regularly watching things on DVD. I'll show you here what this looks like playing it on the player. Pop out our disc. Stick it on in here. Close it up. Give it a second. It has to boot up, basically. Alright. You picture the elevator music playing and whatnot. Notice you can see the disc spinning because it's a Color FX. You can see it inside. They'll have one of those types of things like a lot of the game systems used to. Ooh, an animated menu! How awesome! And you're picking, in this case, really nothing because it just keeps playing. It looks like a menu, but it's not really. C-3PO human cyborg relations. Right, same thing you would see on Story of Luke Skywalker on the DVD. Let's go to some clips. Basically you got your buttons up here that switch between chapters, or whatever you want to call them. So we're back to the beginning, or we jump ahead. I'm going to show you here, as best as I can, the beginning of Return of the Jedi, at least the clip from it they use here as they start that part.
The Empire was building a new space station, more powerful than the first Death Star. And
now,
Han was caught firmly in the clutches of...
It might look all right on there. It's incredibly, incredibly grainy. Think the screen of an old Game Gear, only worse. The Sega Game Gear, only worse. It's not the kind of video you would have shot the first time they ever made it possible to shoot video on cell phones, kind of bad. Now, quality-wise, same thing for the story of Anakin Skywalker here. What's probably the most interesting thing, although, again, mostly stuff we've seen before, is that behind-the-scenes disc. So, boot that sucker up here. Put it in, press play, and wait. Here we are. Like, what are those things listed under it? Especially if that's not a menu. What am I looking at? It goes to each film, does a little kaboom, shows the title, shows a title of a segment.
About 30 some odd years before episode 4, which was the original.
You might be thinking, oh, that's awesome! It's a little documentary thing. I want to see that again. You probably already have. On this 2004 version of it, you get the episode 1 featurette called Fights, which is on the episode 1 DVD, released in 2001 in widescreen and then 2002 in full screen. You get the episode 2 featurette, Action, also from the episode 2 DVDs from 2002. And of course, each of those is also one that was re-released as part of that set back in 2008 that had all 3 films in it as a boxed set. So featurettes you've seen before, and very specific topic featurettes, not broad behind the scenes, but specific to those items, and they're edited down to fit the time. So it doesn't even have everything on it, every bit of it, that you would get on the featurette on the DVD. It's an edited version. Now, on this one, it goes on from there into some Revenge of the Sith content. And since it's 2004, the film isn't out yet, the DVD isn't out yet, it's a question of, well, what's going to be on there? Well, you start out with the web documentary, Creating General Grievous, which is also later on the DVD. You also get the episode 3, The Making of the Game, right? Revenge of the Sith, the video game? That featurette that you found on the 2004 original trilogy DVD sets on the bonus disc. Quick little featurette of how they're basically training with Hayden Christensen to see how he moves and his ideas, and incorporating that into how the character models and the animations work in the episode 3 video game. After that, there is no making of Star Wars stuff. Not really. It should say making of the prequels. It's only episodes 1, 2, and 3. It's nothing about the classic trilogy. Unless you like commercials. Hey, what's this after that making of the game thing for episode 3? Maybe they're gonna talk the original trilogy. Yeah, sorta.
For generations, only one trilogy has been the heart of every movie collection. On September 21st, it will be, again, the Star Wars trilogy on DVD. For the first time ever, own the greatest saga of all time on the ultimate format. Join Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Chewbacca,
Yeah.
C-3PO.
Yep, let's turn that down there. That is the trailer for the 2004 original trilogy DVD set. Which makes sense because it's being released around the same time as this. But when they had the time and the space for behind-the-scenes content, they gave us a trailer for that. And not just that, let's click ahead.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The critics agree it's the best DVD produced to date.
1, okay, it's a trailer for the Episode 1 DVD release. Okay. 2, notice they were saying, It's the best DVD release to date. That's what critics are saying. Yeah, because they can't say it's the best Star Wars film to date at the time, could they? And that's not all!
On November 12th, the saga attacks on DVD.
Yeah.
Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Digitally filmed, digitally mastered.
It's a trailer for the DVD of Attack of the Clones, focusing on how it was the first film made digitally that was then captured from that original digital source material, and how that was a huge deal at the time. Trailers upon trailers. Next!
Star Wars. Yoda's Jedi power is in your hands with a new
Oh, nope.
lightsaber.
Nope. It's a commercial for lightsaber toys. Which, again, makes sense because it's Hasbro producing this. And at the end of each disc...
Now you can go to VideoNow.com and check out the latest and greatest shows available for VideoNow. It's all online at www.videonow.com.
And by latest and greatest, we mean stuff like SpongeBob. So that's a little bit odd for the behind-the-scenes stuff, but hopefully you don't feel like you're missing out on anything at this point. It's all stuff we saw elsewhere, or it's freaking commercials. But that's in 2004. That is before Episode 3 hit theaters. Surely, if they ever re-release this later, it'd have some cool Episode 3 stuff in it. Well, ask and you shall kind of receive. 2004's version was later supplanted by a 2005 version. They look similar. Notice they are not the same here. Okay, just, again, very similar. We have, again, Volume SW1, live action, 3 discs, VN, VideoNow content, the story of Star Wars. Again, the story of Luke Skywalker, the story of Anakin Skywalker. Then, behind the scenes of Star Wars, and PVD game included. If you have the VideoNow XP, there's a goofy little game you can play that's pretty crappy, kind of Flash-based looking thing. Except Flash-based is generally better, just not particularly nice game content there. But notice because of that, get another option to play it. Says, watch this PVD exclusively on VideoNow XP or VideoNow Color. Again, mine's a Color FX, so it is a color one. With updated Episode 3 footage. Awesome! Hopefully. Yeah, live action PVD game works only on the VideoNow XP system there. Again, side volume SW1. And labeling on the side there and the back. You'd think that they would just reuse the same text. It's not exactly the same, but pretty close here. This was the 2005 edition of basically the same thing. Different cover art, different disc art as well. You've got the story of Luke Skywalker, story of Anakin Skywalker, and then there's your behind the scenes again. The image they used is now bigger, and the color scheme of the different discs now match the color scheme of the packaging here. The only thing that's different here, again, either from the previous release in 2004 or from the story of Star Wars at Walmart in 2005, is the making of disc, the behind the scenes of Star Wars disc. Now, once again, it's behind the scenes, but only really of the prequels. It's the same Episode 1 and Episode 2 content as on the 2004 version, so the fights featurette and the action featurette, respectively, from those previous DVD releases. Nothing special there. And then at the end, you've still got the Episode 1 DVD trailer, and you've got the trailer for basically the Episode 2 DVD and how it was a digital first and whatnot. It also drops that 2004 DVD set trailer and drops the Yoda lightsaber toy commercial from the end. Now, the 2004 DVD trailer is basically replaced by other trailers. Let's see if these seem familiar at all to you. First, we gotta turn it on and wait through the little clock screen again, the loading screen. Slightly different loading screen on these because of the just the era in which VideoNow Player was being produced. Similar. But then...
Press the fast forward button to play the disc.
Ooh!
Or, if you have a VideoNow XP, you can press B now to access the interactive features.
Ooh, you can see there kind of how it looks. I didn't hit fast forward! Why is it going straight to play? Yeah, it just kind of does. The menus on the behind the scenes one a little bit different, again going straight into that episode 1 fights. But then you skip ahead, you're going to see some trailers, just not the same ones.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic, before the Dark Times, before the Empire.
Yeah.
A young Jedi named...
It's a trailer for episode 3. And then... another trailer for episode 3! That's the cool one with Palpatine's little comment.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Is it possible to learn this power? Not from a Jedi.
Hint, hint, hint. And then, not to stop there, you also have a trailer for Battlefront 2, one of the more well-received Star Wars games of its era, or really all time.
For years, we trained to win the battle that would end this war.
Oh yeah. The game's not on here. The game's on here sucks, but at least it's got a trailer for Battlefront. And speaking of games, it does tell you how to get to it there at the end. You jump. You jump again.
The rest of this disc is for VideoNow XP players only. Press stop now.
You're telling me what to do? Yeah, pretty much telling you to press stop. What makes this one interesting, though, isn't those little changes to the trailers. Who gives a crap about the trailers, really? But it's what comes in between the featurettes from 1 and 2 and the plethora of trailers and whatnot there at the end. What comes in the middle is a little documentary simply called Revenge of the Sith. And as you watch this thing, you're probably sitting back thinking, I've seen that before. I've seen that before. I've seen him say that before. I know I've seen this before about how Hayden put on the costume for the first time. And I know Lucas has said this before in something that I've seen. This looks so familiar. What it is, I don't know if I want to call it an original documentary. It is a documentary segment about Revenge of the Sith, made up of some of the same footage and same narration and same edited pieces that were used originally for the Return of Darth Vader bonus feature on the 2004 original trilogy sets bonus disc, and different web documentaries and featurettes from Revenge of the Sith that you can find on the DVD. It's the same material, but it's edited together differently. It's very much like you would assume that maybe they were putting that stuff together for the DVD and told these guys, you can update with new episode 3 footage. Here's what we got. Here's these featurettes we've already made, and here's this thing for 2004, and here's the web docs. Have at it. And instead of using just one of them, or a couple, they chose to splice them all together into something kind of unique. As such, what that does is it makes this 2005 set, not the original set, the one to get if you've got a VideoNow player and you're looking to pick up one of these PVD sets, because whereas the other one, it's all stuff we've seen before being repeated if you've got Story of Star Wars, this one, it's stuff we've seen before, but not in the same order. Kind of serves as just sort of an interesting look into how it's not just the Star Wars films being edited and pieced together from time to time, like in 97 and 2004 and 2011 and so forth, to change things around. Sometimes you see even the documentary type materials get changed around because of the production process. Very much like looking at a screener of something like Legacy Revealed and what actually showed up on television. Here, there's the DVD version of these things, and there's the PVD version. Same material, edited very, very differently. And of course, this one much smaller than the sum of all of its parts put together that it drew from. So it's a bizarre, tiny little player. Not a lot of people remember, quite frankly. And a couple of Star Wars releases in 2005 and 2004 that really aren't all that well known on a format, PVD, that's not very well known. That oddly is more well known in what's still a somewhat rare incarnation of it that was released as a compilation of 2 of the 3 pieces, with a third part nowhere to be found, because it was already available elsewhere, in the story of Star Wars. If you're looking for the story of Anakin and the story of Luke, this is where to get it. You can play it on a DVD player, and it's much, much, much better picture and sound quality. On the other hand, if you're looking for something weird, you can check out the PVD releases. But again, if you want to watch it, you're going to have to get a VideoNow player that is at least the color model or above. Color FX, or XP. Nothing to do with Windows XP. One last thing before we leave this, I do find the story of Anakin Skywalker a little bit amusing, because again, it's being produced in 2004. And even though the second version is from 2005, they update the behind-the-scenes disc. They do not update the story of Anakin Skywalker, which means it's also not updated over here either. So you wind up with this kind of amusing ending to the story of Anakin Skywalker. Luke has told his story through all 3 films, his combined journey. Anakin? They can't. They don't have Revenge of the Sith. It's only a summary of Episode 1 and Episode 2 to, as the DVD says, get you ready to watch Episode 3. Here's how C-3PO and R2-D2 end it in a nice, classy sort of, we gotta find an excuse not to talk about Revenge of the Sith sort of way.
Yes, the Clone Wars represented a very dark time for the Republic. But because of his bravery, Anakin became a hero and was made a Jedi Knight, although none of the other Jedi knew that he had secretly married Padme. I'm afraid things turned very bad for Master Anakin, and it wasn't long before he transformed into Darth Vader. I beg your pardon? What do you mean I can't tell anyone how that happened? I suppose the next thing you'll tell me is that I can't explain how Master Luke and Princess Leia were born. Really, I don't know what's gotten into you. Oh, you're exhausted, are you? Well, come to think of it, I could use a break myself. We'll save that story for another time. Why, thank you, R2. I think that went rather well myself.
Oh, you two! Such great storytellers! Especially you, C-3PO, given that you apparently had a mind wipe after Episode 3 and somehow remember all this stuff to talk about. Maybe there was an iCloud or a OneDrive type of backup system back then. That, or you and R2-D2 spent a lot of time translating beeps and boops into this retelling of the story. But that gets into the whole thing of Lucas saying that the story is all seen through the eyes of the droids before wiping C-3PO's memory, so perhaps I shouldn't digress too much. With that, we'll round out this episode and this particular format's entire Star Wars library, because it's only those 2 releases that are basically identical except for 1 disc. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers, though hopefully not on VideoNow.
Hello in TV land. Say that's a callback. It's a callback.